아래랑도 말라게 그렇게 당한도 가르치 버려라나 다심제 탐지기야 팬디를 위해 제도 다 전시 만남 게 몰람자도 다지게 지 사실 링도냐 받을 링도 주야다 말매도 바나나 말매 진내도 바네다 수수래 가래 고구유변에 되네게 주제되게 규르치는 샹리아 지 팸팸베 계시면 주토 쇼어야지 도시는 몰람게 거래서 그 생각도 몰람자지 뒤고 쉬르와다.
Good evening. So last week we looked at verses that expressed prayer from Bodhisattvas, prayers that express inconceivable ways to bring benefit, such as being an island for those who seeking land, a lamp for those in need of light, and so forth. What prayers such as these come down to is a deep and sincere expression to help beings in any way that the Bodhisattva can.
아니야딘 마 디슈야레다 몰람제야고 나서소 중화 첨보당 남가신도 따바르양 심진바도 매바예 남마녀수시 시리양쇼스.
And continuing tonight then with the 21st verse, which is also expression of prayer, may also be the basis for all kinds of necessities of life for sentient beings beyond measure, just like the great elements such as earth, as well as space, which is unchanging.
다서소 중화 첨보당 시대 당한 저기 중화 시대사 주매롱 다시 지디세그와 지나 당한 좀 지게 미디기 최알이야 네 배능하는 중에서 사지기 대인제 되네 안 추디기 아니 뒤디게 주 뒤벌제 메기야 민벌지 그래서 아니 룽기야 폐와지고 그래서 제가 디네 지디 사기 대인제 추주 뒤벌제 민벌제 민바스네 거리 죄디야 지 민바라는 건데 신도로서 나와디와 고야야 사야를 판도 지주의 민벌제 봐서 민벌제 봐 되네 룽기야 폐와지고 그래서야 룽메나 야줘야 매발에 야 폐와지고 그래서 송어로다 대사진이 중앙 첨보스도 되니 뒤서 개첨보 지금 만주기 가린 개첨보다 첨보사지 중앙 사소 중앙 첨보야.
The first two lines in the Tibetan are our third and fourth line. So looking then for us in English, the third line, just like the great elements such as earth. So the elements of which all is composed are earth, water, fire, and wind. So these provide, or earth provides support or the basis, or maybe support. Water provides cohesion, and fire is what causes to ripen or to grow, maybe to ripen, and then wind, or wind energy rather, that enables movement. So these are the four elements of earth, water, fire, and wind, and they are referred to as great, where great means here importance. So just like the elements such as earth, which are of great importance.
나 지상하죠. 저기 조미다 둔돌라서 봐. 차사당 하죠. 가를 띵거스는 중화실에 때네 가서 초고로와 중화실에 때 니거로와 중화실면은 완전히 네 퇴에 매버와. 차사다 중화시딩아 저기 끼네 맛이 봐도 근데 그디네다 저기 중화실에 때네 아직 때네 초고로와. 진짜 중화실에 때 초고래. 이 맛에 저기 지게 지신다 자다 매도라 소바다 가르는 아주기 사야도에 차상 같은 변에서 사야고 쉬면 될 때는 지신라 소바 된도기 근데 될 때는 기어도 되네 추추에 아니 발렌 제시야 긴제 되네 매기 죄신 야 니버 공부 슈셔다야래 되네 룽기파 안즉 제네 긴제의 야 폐야 되네 진짜 제부 민쟁아 저 롱주거로 와지래. 제가 당한테 중화시대 가서야 팬 제가 사실 야고 사실라 살라티네 지신라 돈도디게 수게 기용고 살라티네 기고로와 제가 기에네 야게 로얄야 추고고로와 대수 직파 뒤발에 추추제 되네 안에 매기 줘야되게 아니 야니고 공부하다다 되네 룽기 공부하다 되네 제는 아직 된다라 중원시 소발에 되네 지신 로도 차상 기에네 미기 돈도다 미달라서 롱주에 차상 내라되는 롱주디 만절에 판도고로와 제가 당하고 류쇠야 되나 아주 중화실에 되는 류티 두고래 아주 미다 돈도 류리나 중화실에 되는 두고 제가 중화실에 되는 두 아니 안디마세 소소가 아주 사야돈 이야기 튕겨나 지신 나서라서 차상 되는 중화실에 되는 두 제가 당하고 중화실이 아주 옆에 즉 배주치 뭐지나 판도치 뭐 다시네 아주 지금 네 튕겨 차상 주에 되다 중화실에 되는 연구에 봐서 중화실에 가서 배주치보다 판도치 뭐 쉬우시로 와서 월다 되는 인보디스고래 룽디야 펴고 어르지야 그 룽면에 야 끼고 야 쳐주고 말다가지네
These four elements which are of great importance, without them we cannot live. The four elements are what enables all life in our world to be sustained, and we rely on the four elements throughout our life. So all sentient, all beings, humans and animals in our world, depend on the four elements entirely, as does our environment. All that we eat and drink depends on these four elements. So a very simple illustration is for the food that we eat. It requires earth in which to grow, and it requires water for it to be moistened, and it requires the warmth of fire so that it can ripen, and then wind energy so that it can grow. So therefore we should understand that these four elements which are greatly important are something that all humans and animals, as well as our environment, entirely depend on. In fact, all that we utilize, all our resources are comprised of or depend upon these four elements. Hence they are of great benefit and great importance.
주면에 감루로 감지매가 차루로 매매나 지고마 룽매나 지고마 지사디 매서 딜리팅고에서 디베 마생하는 소리야 지 배슈 첨보다 판도 첨보 쉬우시로 와서 그러다 지사다 남가 신도 남가 하세요 지사다 남가디야 고고래서 남가세는 동바식으로 와 남가 동바식으로 지사사 중원시 상대외에 남가매나 야오용 말에라 기투 말로 와서 가시 뉴신도 기나 기세에 줘서 동바치고로 동바면은 용해 그 만이게나 야줘야 매로 와지네 지금인데 론주야라고 라고 말와 아주 미네 집하면 수분 마기네 동바에는 야 철철주고 막 동바면은 철줘야 말와 제가 동바 남가신 제가다 델리아 제가 사소 중화 첨부 시제 남가 동바 남가듯이 델레데네 가 저기 다 지게 튕게 제사야도야 당 지신 나서 라서방아 롱주에 차산 델레데네 용고를 두고래 델레디고래 아주 류데 지게 델레데 디고래 전에 디네산 사소 중화 첨부 남가 제디 샘전 탐제 산지고 마토에 봐도 다가지 디베제에 봐다 디메나 미루어지 레와서 왔다 담보도 숨고 왔다
For all beings in our world, people and animals, we depend entirely or completely on these four elements. If any of these elements are lacking, life cannot be sustained. And in addition to these four elements, there is a fifth, that of space. So space has the quality of being empty, not as in emptiness, but as empty as in lacking obstruction, and thereby enabling movement. If there was no empty space, then there could not be, for example, there could not be growth. So the various qualities of these elements are again that from earth is the basis or support, from water follows growth, fire provides warmth for ripening, and wind enables growth, wind energy, and then space is a lack of obstruction, so there can be movement. All our bodies, all our resources and so forth depend upon these elements.
에다 된다라 저게 되니게 최게 최디기 뒤에 최된 제바디 딩아들이야 사추멜롱 멜롱 시체 되네 사추멜롱 시체 아 등한저 내바를 소라 최신 내바 천에 마시와지 내바라 최신 내바 지신의 메도드 라서 된데 가리면에 아주 미네 최신 내바라 안 사소 중화 침보 시다 남칼에 뛰고래서 될래 뛰네 다내고 빙한저기 내고고래 지산 데니기 맞죠봐 될라 맞죠봐 내퇴 매바서다 데니기 사소 중화 침보 시다 남가 세디 될량한 저기다 시계 될래 뛰시 내고고로 와서다 디숨 디레도와 남가 신두세 디바르다 디바르시 디레 디바르시 고래.
So therefore we should understand, so we're looking at the first, for us the third and the first half of the fourth line, that all life depends upon the four elements as well as space. So you could say it depends on all the great elements such as earth as well as space, so that in this way we can count five. And just to say as an aside, the word that in these contexts is translated as elements is actually the word for arise, as independent arising and a definite emergence. It's the same word. This arising here is translated as element.
안데니기 판도 예바 나신다 데네 남가 때 신두 세디 나신서 데니기 판도 될래 데네 판도 예바 나신 안 따버려 양 세대다가 ngéja so de jan ngéja an takbar jan duda number kundu so takbar du takdo gabre chi phando ba che gabre member che tene du takbar gi di ine sa su jungwa chimbo shida namka de ge shenlia shen semje le phando ba na shin ngéjang semje lia ane phando ane dupto sho so ro de takbar yang se takbar se de gi di ina so da Then in
our fourth line, I just need to change my translation. So the word I translated as unchanging or permanent should rather be understood here as being at all times. So the translation for our final line, as well as space, or maybe the two together, just like the great elements such as earth as well as space, at all times.
다디 중화침보시 남가기 셈젤레 델레데네 셈젤레 판도가 나신소다 디나신세 나신소 그 디나신 예장소다 중화침보시다 남가기 셈젠 탐제레 제니기 판도 초와다 디니가 강 디규주의 판도바 나신 예장 아니 중화시기다 남가기 셴셈젤레 판도바 나신 예장 기주이나 디니게 판도 투바 용화쇼스고다
And at all times refers to at all times benefit arises from or benefit follows from these five elements from earth, water, fire, wind energy, and space. At all times, benefit follows from these greatly important elements.
나데네 판도서 유디 대한 가르술을 셈젠 빠도메바 셈젠 술 판도 그래서는 셈젠 가실레베스는 말에 셈젠 빠도메바선 다 셈젠 빠도메바선 남기기 타다 년비기다 셈젠 빠도메발이야서 셈젠 빠도메바 이서 셈젠 빠도메발이야 안지 판도 주야시 그러다 유디에 다 판도 주서 유이스므로 말에 다 중앙아디 대지 셈전 조알 판도 시사르와 당이 딱벌 셈전 판도 주어쇼 술러스네 셈전 탐 셈전 술르레스네 셈전 가실레베스네 말에 상마라서 셈전 빠도메바 셈전 빠도메바 남게에 타다 년비게 남게 타다 년바세 남가스베 야침보로와 지산 남가 나시 샘전 빠도 봐 예대로 봐다 지산 내내게 샘전 창말이야 아니 판도 지역이 제도벌 쇼서 왔다지 유디를 숨었다.
Okay, so this verse, the translation, really need to change quite a bit. So our third and fourth lines, just like the great elements such as earth as well as space, the great elements such as earth as well as space, just like that at all times, and then moving into, for us, what is the second line, sentient beings beyond measure. Because the meaning is that in the same way that the great elements benefits beings at all times, I will benefit beings beyond measure at all times. So because the Tibetan, for us, our second line is the third line in the Tibetan. So it would follow from space to sentient beings beyond measure. So the link will be from that as well as space at all time, just like at all times for sentient beings beyond measure.
판도에 대한 스토리에서는 남망은 열세 시양 소스 남망서 남방망부 세월다 남방망부 예를서도 녀와코와 가르구기나 코란수 고해야되나 제자다 소세는 가지고 마시어 최신 내봐서와 제산 비슈다 최신 내봐라 심전 심전 빠도 매봐 심전 탐제다 심전 빠도 매봐 심전 탐제 아니랴 는 코란수기 다지기 류게 나자다 심규 동아 세야다 디규두야다 소소 최신 내봐라야 가리 예유지 가르구구 예배네 되네 남바 망보 빠도 매봐 남망스 남바 베다 마라 망보 빠도 매봐 규르시네 아니지 되는게 전에 남망 되네 초위기 시를 세려 시암규 규르규와 쇼서 시암 규르규와 쇼서 시라 시르규와 쇼 규르규와 쇼서 제다다 심전 다가 쇼가 심전 빠도 매봐 탐지기 디규두야려 가르구고 알았으네 지금 예제 코론솔라 가리 구구예네 제 넘버 다 말에 지 구고로 받아가서 가실래 제 사야도야 오래 둘로 거야 구고래 되는 파소 줘야래 튕긴 구고래 되는 지금 야지 칼라이네 될 릭다 말에 구고에 되는 거 한국 거야 되는 섬 추구고래 되는 게 구고래 아니 지금 릭다 말아지 구고로 받아 되는 지 넘버 가리 구구에 베네 코론솔이야 디기 두야다 동아 세야 고디견 가래 고기네 대수 차상이 코로서 내발라 남바 망보 빠도 매바디 규르체 데니기 용야기 데니기 용야기 규테 규르체는 게 데니기 규르체 콘들이야 안에 디기 가사라 판도 제투가 쇼세다.
So for us, our second line, for sentient beings beyond measure, this then is whom the Bodhisattva is focused on benefiting all sentient beings beyond measure. And in what way? Then that's for us our first line, which is the last line in the Tibetan. May also be the basis for all kinds of necessities of life. So here the Bodhisattva is expressing the aspiration to be of benefit to all sentient beings beyond measure in each and every way that they require, so as to overcome problems, suffering, and difficulties. So this term translated here as necessities of life, in the next verse is translated as that, and is an additional meaning, which is sustenance. So this implies that in whatever way beings require help, whether it's food, drink, clothing, means of transport, whatever it may be, so as to help beings overcome their problems, overcome their difficulties, and attain happiness, may I be a cause for that. And the word basis here has the meaning of cause. So may I also be the basis for all kinds of necessities of life, or the cause for all kinds of necessities of life.
상당히 심전에 판도 주변이야. 아니 심전报도면 봐서 심전报도면 봐려야 유 판도 주서 유디 심전报도면 봐듯이. 다들이 아니 판도 주변이 콘솔리아 판도 주변이 예절 마선도 고야디 가리어서 남바 망부报도면 봐. 가래 고구이나 코로솔리아. 지가래 고베이나 데니게 고야기 딩이 nga di gyurgyu di higurji nga dine ki gyuchebal dine desu namba chasa khonzo chasa gargobane dizu phaza khonzolya drupje ane khonzolya anjige pando druk tubar sho ase sumgor wada.
So these, for us, the first two lines, the Bodhisattva is expressing that in the same way that the sentient beings for whom I have sworn to help, in the same way that they are beyond measure, may I help beings in ways that are themselves beyond measure. In whatever way beings require help, may I be there for that. May I be a cause or a basis for them to receive help in any way that is any way beyond measure.
안디니게 판도 주의디다네 니마 가제레 다와 가제레 기디 두고 가제 두고선 딱 벌었습니다. 기디네. 니마 나 로하시지 멤버데 딱 벌어. 심지어 탐지 상제 고방 마토기 봐. 상제 마서기 봐도 기디네. 딱 벌었어. 이디 디니게 교시 판도 주버 쇼셔야지. 베나서다 베나 중화시디 심지어 탐제 상제 고방 마토기 봐도 안 중화시디 기디나 요요 벌어 와서 중화시는 남카디 기디나 요요 벌어. 지단 딜레티면 딘나시 중화시다 남카 기디 네제 샹레 판도바 나시 안에 녜야 안데네게 딱 벌어. 데네게 뒤 딱 벌어. 네제네 샹레야 지가서 고로서 고야게 튠전 차사 가르고고네 니기 규암 시제네 현심전报道해 봐야 안데 판도 주토를 쇼셔야지.
And in the same way that the Bodhisattva is expressing the determination to help sentient beings who are beyond measure in ways which are themselves beyond measure, the Bodhisattva is also expressing the wish to do so always. In other words, for a time period which also is beyond measure. So in terms of the ways to help, whom will be helped, and for how long, there is no limit or there is no measure. Just like the four greatly important elements and space too, which always, for all beings, is there to support and be of benefit.
대신 남게 태도배 semjen kamla namkundu 탐제 냥은 다바도 다니 녀세 규리야 쇼스.
Then to the 22nd verse. Likewise, may I be a cause for sustenance and necessities of life throughout the limits of space itself, at all times and for every being in every realm, until they all pass beyond sorrow, attaining nirvana.
아니 너나 로로레시. 되네 대승으로와 대신 남게 태두배 세대 대신 세대 대신에마 송바나지 안에 남게 타다니 심전报道며 바시고로와 심전报道며 바 딘하신다 남게 태두배 세대 남카는 바 탈바 투두바 되네바 다 뚝세는 가서 되네바 저지 판에 탈을 내봐 될 뚝바시고 탈을 뚝바시고라 이제 먼저 남게 타직네 남게 타직을 봐 뚝바도 심진报道며 바지 되는 수세오라 심진이 감세오라다 되네게 남게 태두배게 되네게 태두배 유에되게 심진 감세데 심진 감라서 다 유디 판바치세게 유 심진되게 시고로다 유를 모셔야 돼. 대신 남게 태도배 semjen kamla sidira.
This verse starts with the word likewise, and this then indicates that the meaning of this 22nd verse and the preceding 21st verse is really very similar. Then the first line in the Tibetan, it starts with the word likewise, and then goes for what we have in our second line, throughout the limits of space itself. So within the confines of the entirety of space is found, then we have what for us is the third line, at all times and for every being in every realm. So it's within the confines of the entirety of space is found, or as we had in the previous line, previous verse, sentient beings beyond measure. This is their abode, and these are the beings that I'm committed to serving.
Denigida Simjen Kamla, as Denigi Simjen Digla, the number Kundu City Digi, Takwariana, and Jivere, do the number Kundu, so do the number Kundu Kidi in air, so do the number Kundu Kidi in air, the Pandoje, Jetuasho said, the Dikidin, as your number Kun, Nam Kundu said.
And for us, the third line, at all times. This then, as it says, is there is no limit to when the Bodhisattva will serve sentient beings. Whenever there is need, that is when the Bodhisattva will be there. There won't be any hesitation or delay, or any a time that is felt not suitable to be there for every being in every realm.
Denige 탐제 양한 다바도 시대다 denige 남게 태두비 샘jen 감나유 감 샘jen 탐제다 산지의 양한 탐제 양한 다바도스는 탐제 산지의 고폰 토비 바도서다 샘jen 탐제 산제 상계기 바도 안에 다니 녀쇠 규량쇼 시대다 대신에 녀쇠의 샘jen 탐제 호랑솔이야 그지게 고해기 녀와 콜비기 초위 초알라 녀와 콜비기 안에 강여바 뒤에 탐지기 규규와 쇼사스 공을.
Then for us, the fourth line, this sets again makes clear the determination of the Bodhisattva to help beings until they all pass beyond sorrow, attaining nirvana. So pass beyond sorrow is just the English for nirvana. I just wrote them both. But the meaning here we should understand to be the non-abiding nirvana of enlightenment. So until each and every sentient being in every realm has attained enlightenment, this is until when the Bodhisattva will serve beings.
이 직당보 너만이 뒤에 가르쳐 버려서는데 이 직당보 뒤에 나 산지고 버터와 송어 숨고 말바되네. don날 가르송어서네 당에 뒤다 남바군의 샘젠바도 매발야 안에 코란슬이야 지고해기 튕긴 가래 지남바바도 매발 규르제네 코란스 최야리야 튕긴 코란스 가래 그건 남바바도 매발 규르제네 안에 코란슬이야 강하세야 된 디기주에게 판도 제투버 쇼세지 don다 직당보디게 아니 빼나 제 빼빼로시나 아니 빼나 중화시다 남가디기 아니 뒤다 남바군도 아니 시행sem젤이야 데 판도가 데라 땡제의 sem제 남을 데라 땡제 판도가 봐 나신 아니 얘기야 뒤다 남바군도 그디 이내 아니 sem제 탐제 sem제 빠도 매봐야 공원을 가래 고구여배나 소에 야디 디 튕기도 규르제네 매 튕기 규르제 컨트롤에 판도 제도 봐쇼 세 나디 숨을 당버디기
What makes this verse stand out from the verse before is this verse specifies the final objective or the ultimate objective, which is to guide all beings to attain enlightenment. This is not explicitly mentioned in the 21st verse. The 21st verse again was emphasizing that in the same way that the elements are greatly beneficial to beings and serve as the basis for all their necessities of life. In that way, I, the Bodhisattva, will benefit all sentient beings beyond measure for a period of time which is also beyond measure. So this was what was explicitly mentioned in the preceding verse. This verse here, the 22nd, this explicitly mentions nirvana.
다 니베디게 가르송 거라서네 다 남게 테도베게 셈젠 빠도 매발라 아능이 넘버 뒤다 넘버 군도 아는 권수 셈젠 탐제 상지 고방 셈젠 탐제 상기 설계 차설게 봐도 아능이 안지 권술이야 안지 권수 거야기 튕긴 줍지네 튕긴 동아세 디기주야리아 권수 거에 튕긴 가래이나 디 규르규르시 권술이야 안데 디기 판도 좀 보셔야 돼. 니베들라 산지고 봐 토에 봐도 오세지. 뭐 숨고도 와.
In the 22nd verse, for us in English, what it's better for us in English is the second, third, and fourth line. Here, once again, the Bodhisattva is expressing the aspiration that no being will be neglected, no being will be seen as less important. Hence we have the expression, throughout the limits of space, for each and every being in every realm, and again, at all times. So without, again, any hesitation. So this is the same as has been presented in the previous verse, but now in addition, until they all pass beyond sorrow, attaining non-abiding nirvana, attaining enlightenment. That's the final objective of the Bodhisattva.
Number kundu said the Kuni Dona Jibare, got Labdaro, sick patient, Takbaya send do doctors or Kedinas or number kundu send Dukedinas or Dukedinas, Tikuni Dona Jiba chatter, sick patient Anakare. And then the one and the Gandelia, Simjam Pauto Meba says to her, Simjam Pauto Meba said, Namge Te do be Simjin said the Jibare, Pauto Meba, you do not Jibare love Sundan. Then Tatu Meba said, and Namge Te to be Simjan said, Namge Te to be Simjan said, Tishin Namge Te to be Simjan said, Dua, Dinjibat, Namge Te to be Simjan. Namge Te to be Simjan come, said to Simjan said, Dida Ganges Simjan Pauto Meba said, you couldn't. Sick Donald Jibali, Mambu Yachimbo Shul go or was Simji Baldum, Simji, Mambu Shul go or Niga. And the near said the Jibata Ganga, or Niga near says to a near Kova, Karikuina said, near said disorder. Tisada Delia, Tini Badilla, Yang Diaz, Sanjoko, Maduki Bardo said, this is also your Diki Cavamato.
Just then to summarize the similarities between these two verses, just to make sure that it's clear. In terms of how the Bodhisattva is ever present, ever engaging with sentient beings. In the 21st verse we have, so my mistranslation of unchanging, that should be always or at all times, something like that. And then that is expressed again in the 22nd verse as at all times. So therefore, we see that the Bodhisattva is emphasizing by repeating in both verses that at all times, without hesitation, that she'll be there for sentient beings. And a further similarity is in the 21st verse, for sentient beings beyond measure. And then this is the same as what's expressed in the 22nd verse, which is throughout the limits of space itself, for each being in every realm. So these are just two different ways to express that the Bodhisattva will serve each and every being without exception, without seeing some as more needy and others as lesser, all beings without exception. So it's just expressed in these two different ways. In the 22nd verse, for every being in every realm throughout the limits of space, and then in the 21st verse, for sentient beings beyond measure. And then what's also the same is in both verses there's reference to the way in which help will be offered. And we have the sustenance and necessities of life. So that's found in both verses. And then what makes the 22nd verse different is it specifies until they all pass beyond sorrow, attaining nirvana. And here again, nirvana means enlightenment or non-abiding nirvana. So here, the ultimate goal, the primary objective, or the final ultimate objective of the Bodhisattva is explicitly mentioned.
Niki janju senpa namki dosine molam shivu, chik dosine gyachimbo chuku nango hore, tanga zuline, niki molam gyachimbo ya hore se hore, chizan namki semchen paudo meba, ane semchen paudo meba liya, ane korang zuliya, 그 강아 세야단 디유주야기 튕겐 가르 고고여베네 남바 라마라 가르 고고이나 디수 차상 지게 데니게 용야기 네 제네 규제제 안제솔야 데니게 튕기 차상 루제 콘솔 강아 세야다 디유주 투버쇼 세바 베네 중어시다 남가디기 뒤다 따바고 뒤남바고도 심절이야 델레티네 아니 지게 추고로와 저 나신 안 디나신에야 뒤다 남바고도 안디샬이야 펜버주 투버쇼 세야다 안디나신 지오마딜레나 안디나신 당아서 뒤다 남바고도 남게 테두베 심자 탐젤이야 코란솔이야 동아세야단 디유주게야 코란스 튕겐가리 고에나 데네게 안지게 디미 규제제 델이야 콘스티기 줍제네 콘솔이야 안 산지요 고바 마토게 봐도 냠렌지제 산요 고바 마토게 봐도 니 콘솔이야 안에 판도 되네 주투어쇼 세데 도시는 안주이네 도시는 몰람야 월해서 오다
Through these verses, Shantideva is guiding us to make prayers just like Bodhisattvas do. Making prayers like this serves many important purposes. Prayers such as these serve to expand our way of thinking, to challenge our current very limited and narrow mind, or our very limited vision, and rather to encourage us through the heartfelt expression of prayers such as these many verses, to look beyond what we currently view ourselves as capable of. Because as we spiritually develop, what now seems inconceivable will be very achievable. So here we're trying to lift our vision to no longer be deceived that things are beyond the Bodhisattva, and that when we attain these Bodhisattva paths, we will be capable of anything. We'll be capable of helping any sentient being, anywhere, at any time, in any way they require, helping in ways inconceivable to now, and thereby can be said to be without limit.
Sunam Sago Goreshada, Sunam Batumeva Sago, the Kewa Kachimbo Gores, Sisan di Inza, the Yelianzuda, Jiggy Yala Tunyukone, and then Sosa Tipchan, Jajusim Javalo, Sosa Tipchan Kuvaza, Yala Tunyukone, Sosa Tipchan Dusche, the Negi and Molam Jangoata, the Negata, Gawa, Moa, Casa, Moa Jare, the Negata, Molam Jare, Dusche, Molam Jache, Javana, the Sunam Batumeva Sago Ejeda, the Negi. Sunam bottom of Sagores, so that the negenda use more just a use Simjan bottom of Dene and the Chigitia and the Chidu Chava, Sanji Kopan to be Chirdo, Miu Simja Sanjit Simjat Sanyo Kopan to be Chirdo. The and the Chig Molam Jedia, do that number on the Pandoje Tuyata, and the Coronsolia, Twingian Gare, Guguyabana, D. Twingin the Coron the Junche, Pando Trutur shows the Nigger Molam Jayadu, the Nijig. Molam Jan Dinigidan, Molam de, that Gao Bottom Mebashu, Saguava, Saguenza, Dushin, Molam Yene, and Sosa Tipchan. That dinner, that did you want Madame Janju Sem Yagi, Ye, the shoe, some water.
So where have we come to now in this text? We have the 3rd chapter, 22nd verse. So he started by looking in some detail at the many benefits of this remarkable mind of bodhicitta, thereby giving rise to the aspiration to generate bodhicitta ourselves. We then started in the 2nd chapter to look at how to prepare our mind in order to actually generate bodhicitta. And to prepare our mind, we need to engage in the process of accumulating extensive merit and purifying non-virtue. And this was presented through the process of the 7-limb prayer. So the 7 limbs then were presented throughout the 2nd and some of the 3rd chapter. Thereafter, we came to the final limb, that of dedication. And in recent weeks, we had a few verses on dedication, followed by now some verses of prayer. So this then is where we've come to now. And what we've recognized right here, as in where we looked at tonight, is a reminder of the way of thinking of the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva has as their object, their object of their attention and care, each and every mother sentient being, without exception, without favor, each and every sentient being, wherever they may be, in whichever world, in whatever life form, and whatever level of spiritual development, every sentient being is the object of care of a bodhisattva. And their wish to ease the suffering of beings is to be expressed in each and every way that is required, not solely in spiritual ways, not solely in material ways, but in each and every manner that is required to ease problems and difficulties for beings. The Bodhisattva expresses their determination to help. And there are many temporary purposes for the Bodhisattva, primarily to alleviate suffering, but it is all directed to the one final goal of for each individual and every individual to guide them to attain full and complete enlightenment. So that then in brief is what we've looked at thus far in the text. Now, having reached this point, we come to where one actually engages in the ceremony for aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta.
Oh yeah, that in my Jajusim Soyagi Titi, Joatide. And Jiterongi de Sheki, Janju Tuni, Jabata, Janjusimbi Labala, Deda Rimshin Nebatar, Dajan Drola Pendundo, Janjusimni Yi Yishin, Dijin Duni Labala, Labalang, Remotion Labarkis. Niga on it.
So this then is the 23rd and the 24th verses. Just as the Sugatas had previously generated bodhicitta, and just as they had trained progressively in the practices of bodhisattvas, so too for the purpose of benefiting migrators, I will generate bodhicitta and will likewise train in those same practices progressively.
Na janju sim soyagi choga chi de la da choga that me lama ji papa to me ge son sha da that de ne ge da so mang go yong gore that di anzu ke si wa la chi mo korong jun jun na son sha gi da janju sim je ka so ge ge choge ko ne soyagi a dom soyagi si de choga de di re da de.
There are different rituals or ceremonies by which one can generate the bodhisattva vows. There are those that are presented, for example, by a sangha, but this is one presented by Shantideva.
Janju sim soya shorda, soya kia le choge ko ne sim kia, janju sim mamba sim kia, juba sim kia, juba sim ki domba soya. So
this ceremony or ritual is to generate bodhicitta and to guard or protect the vows of the bodhisattva.
Anda dangbo di soreda, jidangongi di sheki, janju tune gyaba dang, jidangongi ngwe dang sangye sebe sangye 차상서다 니엘이야 상계 세배 상계 차상 지대원이 대시기 지대원이 대시기 니마 상계 세배기다 상계다 상계디다 탐제다 하서 근데 나대 전시선 바용으로와 되는 상계다 전시선 말아서 봐 다가지 량도 초군의 송수되다 가자 저기 되니게 dombo shusege lamache digi lamadi pa dün pa ha de chene da lamadi ma sik ma sungan zudi lamadi chi sik ya dön che do chen shu ya de chagore denege da 제가 되네다 야 직된 데를 가르쳐서 이대로 문이 되시기 자주 tun에 개바다 세대 제가 다 전주심 belabala 전주심 belabala 세대다 간질에 예 다들 상계 세계 상계 차상 코너 차자 아니 간스케 버치 전주심 전주심 비 돈반냠수 렌제 아니 상계 바리에스 코너 차자도 제바레스 그러다 지대 원이 되시기 있으다 지대 원의 상계 세상 대시에서 전주심 코너 상계 코너 쪽에 가르쳐 바래라는 지상 상계 고번 토비 치도 당보 전주심께 되니 뭔바심께도 주바심께 되니 주 전주심비 돈바 주비 돈바 송체네 아니 송체는 사유고바 토바려와스 안디나시 전주심바디기인데야 코로나 쪽에다 전주심 이제 지게 전주심께 주심롬 래 되니 지게 도시네 제바레스 냠는 지고레스 지당원이 되시기 있어야 기 안에 가르쳐봐 전주투네 개바당세 되소 지당원이 되시기 전주투네 개바당 지대롱원이 되시기 자주투네 개바다. 디 랍규르 와다시네. 제가 랍규르해제. 다시 담보 갈라스네 지대롱원이 되시기 자주투네 개바당세도 상계 지대롱원이 되셔야 돼. 상계베 상계마 상계 그런조에 가르쳐버려라네. 상계 고마 토비에 된다라 가르쳐버려서는 그런조 자주심 개바레스. 초고네 장슈셈 송 돈바송 초고셈게 죽셈레 된 돈바송체 두치네 제발해서 올다 콘큐런스 된 제발해서 올다 니 어제도네 개바다스네 지당원이 되시게 장슈도네 개바다 지당원이 되셔서 디신셔 봐서 상예디게라 디슈라 카르 디나로라 카르용서 장슈셈 바디게 용구로와 제가 지당원이 되시니 뭐 상예다 상예 코런즈이네 장슈셈 자주심 송게 안죽심게 된 몸바심게 주바심게 지 된 돈바송아레스 돈바송냠네 나와레스 된 나네 사요고 와도 바레스 안디나신다 자주심 바디게네 코온즈게 두치네 자주심게 되네 몸바심게 주바심게 된 주템 론치네 렌치네 코온즈 자주심 주발라 두신냠네 능고레스 디시고다 돈다디스 지진이 돈다 시고르네.
So looking at the first two lines, so in this ritual, when one receives it from a teacher, generally as the lines are repeated, one repeats afterwards, but after the teacher. But here then, just explaining these first two lines, just as the Sagatas have previously generated bodhicitta. So here, when you see Sagatas, so this of course refers to all the Buddhas, those who have already attained enlightenment. But we should also understand we would include bodhisattvas who are training here too, in that they are progressing towards the attainment of the state of a Sugata. All of these beings have generated bodhicitta. So they first would have generated aspiring bodhicitta, and then with the taking of the bodhisattva vows, and at the taking of the bodhisattva vows and the engaging in the activities of a bodhisattva, the bodhicitta becomes suitable to be called engaging bodhicitta. So this is how all the bodhisattvas train, and how all the Sugatas had previously trained in order to become Sugatas, in order to become Buddhas.
Remission lapar nepa tarra sidda. Jinsimbe labala sedi, 이 강을 제 올에 제 니가 제 일이 바래 지상공인 대신 샤바 담제다 전주 셈바 호롱 저기 근데 전주만 봐 전주 쳐도 셈게 되네 주버 셈게 주셈게 바래스 되네 주버 셈게네 전 주비 셈 안전주 셈베 라바 dom바디엘 데 dom바슈 dom바슈 바래스 되네 슈이네 다 전주 셈베 dom바 라바들라 간스 라바라신 림바신 라바레스 전주 셈베 주바 냠랭게 냠랭게 림바디게 봐 림바신 라바리 마도 두스 라바레스 하지
Third and fourth line, just as they had trained progressively in the practices of bodhisattvas, here having generated aspiring bodhicitta, and then receiving the bodhisattva vows, committing to live within the vows of the bodhisattva, benefiting beings, and thereby engaging in the sequential or progressive or graduated practices of a bodhisattva. So this then is the third and fourth line. So having generated bodhicitta, they engage in the trainings or the practices of the bodhisattva. And these then have a particular sequence or progression or stages.
결혼 공원주기 두수시네 제사 담보 전주셔도 셈 뭔가 셈게 되는 주버 셈게 되는 전주셈베게 주부이 돈바송스네 된 돈바들이야 림바 냠레 림바시네 냠린 제제 네 산조고바 토바레세 결혼 두신 토바레스 제사 대안에 셈제 탐제게 된다려 두신네 셈게 냠린 제네 산조고바 토바레세 되네게 숨거로 와다.
Yeah, maybe you could say the qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are being presented. How they start by generating aspiring bodhicitta and thereby entering into the community of Bodhisattvas. Having generated uncontrived bodhicitta, aspiring bodhicitta, they then receive the Bodhisattva vows and make the commitment to serve sentient beings through the expression of these of the varying vows, and this then is their embarkation, where they're embarking on the progressive practices of the bodhisattvas. There's where their bodhicitta is now suitable to be called engaging bodhicitta. So this is how the bodhisattvas are abiding, and how the Sugatas had previously abided. They have perfected that journey.
대신도 시대의 결혼적에 대해서 상계다 전시세문이 대신샤바 상계다 전시세바데 얘기 도시는 나와 나신소 대신도 다델라 돌아 팬도스는 다양서 녜세다 디나데 대신도 돌아서도 소소라요다 식단에 마지막에 제상 얘기양 저 심제 탐제 아니 팬바다 심제 탐제 사유 고방 야 매치 계획이 판도 주시한 심제를 판도 주야라 된다라 아니 얘기야 심제 탐제교 된도 아니 장슈심 기인서 장슈심에 개발기 있으면 대신 돌아 팬도도 장슈심에 기기신 세대 제산 대신샤바 상계당 전시심바 결혼주기 장슈심 뭔바 셈게 되는 주버 셈게 주비 돈발 렌제 아니 냠렌제데 상유고바 셈제된 상유고바 톱제 셴레 판도 치고를 딘난시 녜자 아니 저 셈제 탐제기 디기 주야다 동아세 셴레 팬비치도 안 판도도 주비게 된다라 아니 장슈심에 개발기 이제 셈제 탐제기 상유고바 톱발지 장슈심 기인세월다 Then moving
to the 24th verse, it starts with so too. So here there's the link between these two verses, where just like, so the so too is just like. In other words, just like the bodhisattvas are training, just like all the Sugatas or the Buddhas have trained, so too will I. And then this line continues, for the purpose of benefiting migrators. Here then, the purpose or the purpose, the goal, the objective of the Bodhisattva is explicitly mentioned, benefiting migrators. What will I do? I will generate bodhicitta. And this here, in the ritual, is the generation of aspiring bodhicitta, where one makes the declaration, I will generate bodhicitta. For what purpose? To be of real benefit to sentient beings.
Azores, Jansin Kebarki, Ki, Shin, Siduda, Denigi, Ki, Shin, Sidu, Dasimja, Tamja, San Yokoban, Tobar Chigi, Sibe Janjusim, that's Mumbasem Kebadi, Yabatiche. That Dijin Dune Labala, Remission Labargi, said Dijin Dune Labala, Remission Labargi, said Denis, Digi, Jubasimge, Sonya, Jugusim, Domba, Sonya, Niga, Ligore. Jizna Janjusim Ki, Dini, Dishin Dune Labala, Dishin Siduda, Jezang Semja Tamjig Dondalia, and Pendev to which do Dishin Sidu, Janjusim Ki, Yam Ki, Janjusim, San Semja Tamsan Toba, Jin Sembi, some Ki, Dini Dishin Sadi, some get that Juba Sim Gedin, Genium, and Laba Lang, Janjusim Bigi, Jigga Labja, and the Jigga. Passion to gain Yamle, Remission, Labgi said, did Domasoya the Chakor, Jubi Simple Domasoya. Niga, Remission, Labargi, said that, says a Carla and Janju Simple job of passion to gain Yamle, Remission, Labgi said. The Niga or the Jindunis, the Jindus, and Simja Tamja Sanjo Koba. Sanju Janju Sim Simja Sanju Koba Toba Jigi, Jene, and Janju Simbi Juba Partnership Chazalia, and Jig Remission Labgin said Chagor. The Remission Labgin said, Dombarwa, Deshindu said, Deshindu said, Janju Sim Sigor, Deshindu Deji, Deshi Janju Simja Sanju Koba, Toba Janju Sim Geva Nashin. Dishindu said, Jesa Simjan Tamjig Dandalia, Sanji Koban, Toba Chibi, Janju Sim Gene, Dishindu Ni, Gene, and the Garcigan, then they all Gene, Sidda, Janju Sim Gava, Jusim Gav, then the Gene and Remission Labjala, Remission Labgi, said that Juktum Suatigo. That he Gaji denied Remission Lavati, Tik Digi, the Judum Sunyata, Jusim Ge, Niganum Duro Chagore, 60. Didi Shigamar, Dishin do said, Dishin do send Diniel Shesara, Diniel Garcia, the Mombasam Gay, the Garson, Semjan Tamjig in San Yoko Batoba. Dishin do say, when Dishin Shapa Tamjigi, Janju Sim Gage in Yamle Jeva Nashin, or Dishin do, Megan, Janju Sim Gene, Janju Sim Chupal, Labgin, so don't I?
So with the first two lines in this 24th verse, so too for the purpose of benefiting migrators, I'll generate bodhicitta. So here, this is where one generates aspiring bodhicitta. Then one moves into the third and fourth line. Will likewise. This then is where one is generating engaging bodhicitta, where one's bodhicitta, which was now, from the previous two lines, suitable to be called aspiring, here, when in the third and fourth line, one's bodhicitta becomes suitable to be called engaging, because here one is making the promise or the commitment that I will likewise train in those same practices progressively. So in other words, here one is making the promise or the commitment that one will train just like the bodhisattvas do, and just like those who have perfected the paths and the grounds did. So one here is making the promise to practice the six perfections, and this then makes one's bodhicitta suitable to be called engaging bodhicitta.
Adelia Jubu Domba Sidi Donala, the Simja Tamjig Sanjo Koban Tobar Show, Tobar Chi, Di Dundala, Tobalangi, Janju Simbi Juba, Java Passion Juda, and the Jig do young over Sheila, Labgins, be Kalim de la Damja de la, Jensim Domba, Jupi Domba, City order. The Janju Simbe Domba said the Carilla was in Juba Simget, Janju Simbe Domba Song said Domba the Carnation Lagoresine, Tambo Simjan Tamjik, Sanjoko Toba Chigi, the Ins and Sanjoko Toba Tobi Children, and Janju Simbe Jeva, Passion Juda, do you over Shilla, Labkin Sembige, Damja Kalimbi, Damja Della, that Janju Simbe Domba Song, Domba said this one. A Diki Shiga Marde.
So this promise or commitment, and just I'll add a bit as the translator to say, Geshe is using the word vow. So this is, I think, where some confusion comes in translations. Because it is the word for vow, but the meaning isn't the Bodhisattva vows. That isn't what's been spoken about here. So the word for vow can also be translated as a promise or a commitment. And so that is what's being made here. One isn't receiving bodhisattva vows. There we normally think of the root and secondary vows. That's not what's being referenced here. But rather, the vow one is making, the promise that one is making is that, this is the third and fourth line, I will likewise train in those same practices progressively. So one is promising that in order for the purpose of benefiting beings, in other words, to lead them to enlightenment, I have now generated bodhicitta, aspiring bodhicitta, but I won't leave it at aspiring bodhicitta. I will now engage in the 6 perfections and the 4 ways to positively influence others. This is the promise that's being made, or the vow that is being made.
Mamba Simki Sidu, the Simjan Tamjik, the Sayo Koba Topper Show, Simbe Sam Jineda, Choi, Kone Soya de la, that's Deni Chiki Rangi, Lame Dunliba, and the Chiki Denishan Choha Duanjin, then is Simja Tamji Sayo Koba Topper Show, Sambigida, some yes, Dikeda, Mamba Simkeva, or that Mamba Simkeva. Ella Mamba Simki Dombosun said, Pesungoma, that Mamba Simki Dombasa Kisheva, and that the Nigi Simjan Sanyoba Topper Show, some Topper shows. The Nigi Simgedi, Du Namyang, and then Madroaching in Yamsu Linking Sebe, some Daji or Wada, the killing Jajurva, Simja Tam Sanyoba Topper Show, Sebe, Janju Simkin, the Nigi is some noti that. Gedine de Madroche, Yamlin Jin, Sempeda, Kalim Bege, Kalero Chagurva, the Nigida Mamba Semkevada, Mamba Janshu Semkevada, then Mamba Semki, Kale, the Chig Kasore, Yamleche, Tamjam, Kale, Odusine, Sungorva, the Janshu Sempe, Mamba Semki, Tomba Sumalan, the Neshi Sungra. The member Simbi, the member Simki Chogo, member Simkeba, member Simki, Domba Sadi, Sumida, that members don't have 60 Fisher Bigium. Janju Simni, Yi Xin said, the member Simki or Ejerwada. Janju Simni, Yi Xin said, Jizadi member Simkeba, Jizda the member Simki said, Jizda. Carissa Simjan Tamjik Choga, Lame Dundi, Choga Duenjin, Dangan Jaju Sembanam, Sanjeti, the Niam Jebba, and Aja din Simjan Pembe Dundala, Simjan Tamsanyoka, Toba, Show, Chigin, Sebida, Show some Dine, Lame Dundi, Yam Chigin, say Kilim Baiza, Chogo, Lame Dunda, Jaju Sem Geneda, Mamba Semke. Choyokone Sonwa Sada, that Mamba Semki, Dombalamnada, the Mamba Semki, the Yamlin Jigin Sebeda, Namia Mudoro, Yamlin Jigin Sebe, Damja, killing body, that did here. That is showing a Mamba Semki short, and Mamba Semki Choyokone Song said, the Mamba Semki said, Karachikolorna, the Nigate that Jidong, the Shebanam Yamlin Cheba, Nashing, he has some just on Yokoma Topa Show, Sebe, Semke, the name Semke that they 초유군의 셈께봐. 다 돈발라는 담자발라는 데니게 셈께디 du namya mido wa nyamlen jigin se kelin de la da mamba semkie ne mamba semkie da de sonya ge kelin nyamlen che ge kelin damja sadi modu chegore.
The promise
다 된다 전주심이 개발기 세 된다 디레 대지 강에 되다 되로 빼니 가리 된다도 공고를 끼고서 샘전 탐제를 팬더 주에 된다 인식으로 된다.
So the promise that is being made here is that I will generate bodhicitta. In other words, I will, in order to lead all beings to a state freed of suffering, I will become a Buddha. So in our second line, I will generate bodhicitta. This is the promise that is being made. So when one initially, or for the first time, engages in this ritual, one does so with one's teacher. So one is making a promise, or a commitment, or a vow to one's teacher. I will generate bodhicitta. In other words, so it has the two elements of, in order to lead all beings to a state freed of suffering, I will become a Buddha. This is the promise or the commitment or the vow that is being made to our teacher in the second line. I will generate bodhicitta.
나 주버sem께네 주버sem께 또 무슨 세 디서 대신 눈에 라바 대신 눈에 라바랑 렘버신의 라바기 세디 디리 제사 전주 셈기네 셈제탄 상유고방 토벌 쇼세베 셈기네니 아니 셈제 탐제기 된다 상유고방 토비 제도 전주 셈베 줘봐 아니 제 줘봐 파신 주다 안 두용 오버 실래야 랩기 세베다 대냠네 지긴 세베 켈레 담자 대네 켈레 담자네 지기세베 대네기 지가 도시네 켈레 제가도 대네 돈바스 전주 셈베 죽돔세 오르데 켈렘베 켈렌데라 죽돔세 다 데네게 죽돔디게 세베 내갑게다 셈게데라 죽바 셈게세 오르 이제 미 디리니 바지긴세 오르 디리니 바지긴세 오르다 지긴 성어다 그 지긴스는 켈링이거다 이 지긴스는 근데 그 지긴은 생각 다 되는 지긴스야 돼 상인나에 로제만 지긴다 더 지긴다 다 되는 게 지긴스거다 디린 바 켈린 다 켈린 베님이 디네 손데다 지긴스거다
In this 24th verse, we should take out these two words, will. I will generate bodhicitta and will likewise train. Because this is future tense, so I just checked with Geshe. The way it should be is, from now I am making this promise. So I'm making this promise that from this moment onwards, so if we have will, it's about a commitment for the future, which isn't correct. So it's from now. So too, for the purpose of benefiting migrators, I generate bodhicitta and likewise train in those same practices progressively. Okay, so that's corrected. Now to what Geshe said. So in the previous segment, Geshe was talking about the second line, I generate bodhicitta. So this then is aspiring bodhicitta, where one is making the promise or commitment to one's teacher that I am generating bodhicitta. In other words, the promise that's being made, I will lead all sentient beings to enlightenment, and in order to do so, I will become a Buddha. Now, in the third and fourth line, in that second line there, the bodhicitta that we are generating is suitable to be called aspiring bodhicitta. Now, in the third and fourth line, one makes the promise to engage in the activities of a bodhisattva. Therefore, the bodhicitta in the third and fourth line becomes suitable to be called engaging bodhicitta. Because here one is making the promise. In the second line, for aspiring bodhicitta, make the promise that I generate bodhicitta. And in the third and fourth line, the promise is that I will engage in the activities of a bodhisattva. I will engage in the conduct of a bodhisattva. Hence, it's engaging bodhicitta. And what is it? And so it says, likewise, train in those same practices progressively. practices refers to the 6 perfections and the 4 ways to positively influence others, more commonly translated as the 4 ways of gathering disciples. So this is the promise that is being made here. So and again, in translations you'll find the word vow, because that's the word, but the meaning isn't the bodhisattva vows, but the promise or the commitment or the vow that one is making in the second line is in regard to the generation of bodhicitta, and those 2 aspirations included therein. And then in the third and fourth line, the promise is in relation to engaging bodhicitta, which is to engage in the activities of the bodhisattva, the 6 perfections, and the 4 ways to positively influence others. So that there is the promise that one is making in this ritual or ceremony of engaging bodhicitta, whereas in the 2 lines above, that was the ritual or the ceremony where one makes the promise of aspiring bodhicitta.
다 죽돔세디 도날디레다 셈제 탐지상주고 토벌쇼 자주 셈게네 토벌 셈게 되네기 자주 셈베 쥐어봐 바로도 심을 주다 두용어 보시는 랍기 셈베 케일레제 케일렌제 케일레네 되는 데려야 안 라미 마송지 소소기디 케일레네 다디니 돈바데니게 톱송 셈베게다 매바체 톱로기 오라 톱로기네 되네 디 안에 되네기 케일렌베 케일렌 담자 되네 돈바디 톱송 셈베 매바체네 톱로기 오래제 되네 이제 자주 셈베 돈바 두고 오래제 나 자주 셈베 돈바 톱 사용도 소소기래 예비게 자주 셈 기회 바이나다 되네 자주 셈 문에 기회 바이나 대 자주 셈 대다 주버 셈게 차송래 다 자주 셈 문에 장주심 문에 기회나 나 장주심데 주보심게 차래 뭔바심게 말해 주보심게 차래 장주심 기회면은 뭐그 장주심be 돈바 죽듬 송아래 마도 장주심 요 말봐 장주심 문에 기회면은 죽듬 송아래데 나 장주심 요 말해 죽듬 주보심게 요 말해 죽다든가도 죽돔세라 주보심게 죽돔세 다디디 파준 중에 냐면 지긴세베 켈렌 담자데 먼저 죽돔세라 주비 주버심게 돈바시고로 봐. 돈바송세 뒤로 죽돔선 주버심게 돈바송 와시고래. 주버심게 돈바송의 인지미 주버심게 줄에 끼고 응해봐요 말해.
Also 죽돔 kenen제성 이니 죽셈
맞게 끼고 응해봐요 말해. 다 장주심 문에 끼요나 주버심게 돈바송 차네 아니 장주심데 주버심게 제거래. 장주심 문에 끼면은 죽돔 송아 주비 돈바 송아래마도 주비 셈게 요 말해. 너나디 되네 시켜봐줘.
First, to repeat a little bit, and then something new. So in the first 2 lines, one is making the promise, the commitment, making the vow to one's teacher that one will fulfill the commitment of bodhicitta. In other words, one will become a Buddha in order to lead all beings to enlightenment. So this is where I will generate bodhicitta. And this is the ceremony, the conclusion of the ceremony of aspiring bodhicitta, where one generates bodhicitta and makes the vow, the promise to one's teacher, to that one will, because it's aspiring bodhicitta, one has the aspiration to fulfill those 2 aspects of bodhicitta. Then in the third and fourth line is where one's bodhicitta now becomes suitable to be called engaging bodhicitta, because in this part of the ceremony, one is making the promise to one's teacher, the promise, the commitment, the vow to one's teacher, that I will engage in the practices or the activities or the trainings of the bodhisattva, namely the 6 perfections and the 4 ways to positively influence others, or the 4 ways of gathering disciples. So that's the difference in these 2 stages. Now, what Geshe said, that's new. For those of us who haven't generated bodhicitta, but performs this ritual, one in the third and fourth line is not making the promise or the vow or the commitment associated with engaging bodhicitta, because one doesn't have bodhicitta. But the promise or commitment one is making is to engage. So that's all that the Tibetan is. The promise that one is making is to engage. So the word for bodhicitta, that is dropped. Because one has not generated bodhicitta, but one is still nevertheless making a promise or a commitment or a vow to engage.
Manzo Janju se magenye le soya yore se gorda soya yore se gorda jizada Janju se magenye le jubasim gi domba sonwa na jubasim ge domba sonwa re de ne da jubasim ge yoma sim ge khona ge yoma jubasim ge ngo ma wa jizada de ne ge yungu re se re jubasim ge domba jugdom se chik du sha wa chik ringbo ne jubasim ge domba se gorwa 지난 셈마겐이라 장주 셈마겐이라 주보 셈게 domba sonyo yore yo marse domba sonyo yore 주보 셈게 domba sonore de ina 주보 셈게 yo marese orada 셈게 호나 ye yo marwa lamla 마슈비게 장주 셈바 가사디게 주보 셈게 domba sonyo yore besen domba sonyo 셈제 탐지 상요고 봐 토버쇼 스베 셈게 되는 게 장주 셈에 줘발로 파신줄 랍긴 스베 담자 요르와다 땡아즈랭 셈게 말 가브릴랭 아즈 셈제 상요고 봐 토버쇼 셈게 요르와다 지상에 셈겐다 겨버쇼 디인상에 전시스메 저 팔순 랍긴 세베이다 라면센도 초가된 된지 또 뭐 쉬어 여러 받아 주버심기 이게 domba송에 여래제 주버심기 요 말에 셈게 호로 요 망원에게 깨요 말아
Because Tibetan abbreviations are used a lot. Let's just correct that additional bit that was said in the last segment. So when someone goes through this ritual ceremony here, but isn't a bodhisattva, hasn't generated bodhicitta, they do make the promise of engaging bodhicitta, but they don't have bodhicitta. So they've made the promises, but they haven't yet got bodhicitta. So therefore, someone who generates a wish to engage in the practices of a bodhisattva, but is not a bodhisattva, and therefore makes such a promise to their teacher, they have made the promise of engaging bodhicitta to their teacher, but they have not yet generated bodhicitta. Later they will. But so therefore it is entirely probable that before someone is a bodhisattva, before they generate bodhicitta, they will have made the promise or the vow of engaging bodhicitta, but don't have bodhicitta yet.
되게 안에 장주심 domba송 차위기 차위jel에 sem게 차상 주보 sem게 차기레베스는 주보 sem게 차기와 말해래 장주심바 주부의 sem바 domba송 차네 대 장주심바 파바다 되네 소소게 뭐 코나주게 sem게 차상 주보 sem게 차기레베스는 주보 sem게 빙해봐 요 말해래 내가래라네 장주심바 파바 동반이라 냠바시베 냠바샤주게 냠자바 저러와 디규라 군조 sem게 장주 sem되게 주보 sem게 말해래 거래 I did Mambasim Jessian, Jubasim Maris or that, and Mambasim Charu. That Janjusim Papa Tombanila Nyambra, that Jubasim Janjus Papa Judum, Chesan Yobaravad. She's not a Tombanila Nyambra Shabi, Kasu, Nyambra Shabi, Negabki, Koigula Janjusim Jorva, the Jubasim Geri, Mambasim Geril, and the Jubasim Maris, Mambasim Geril, or that thing on Zulaptare.
A further point to make is that when bodhicitta is generated and the promise of engaging bodhicitta is actually made, then that bodhisattva has engaging bodhicitta on their continuum. But when they enter into meditative equipoise, directly realizing emptiness, then if we ask the question, that bodhisattva, that Arya bodhisattva over there, who's right now directly realizing emptiness, is the bodhicitta on her continuum in this moment, in this period of time when she's directly realizing emptiness? Is that bodhicitta engaging bodhicitta? One would have to say it's not suitable to be called engaging bodhicitta. because at that time only emptiness is appearing to the mind of the Bodhisattva.
어디 ning 안주 디 랍타로 칭아 직공과 시다지래. 양 가시기 전주선바 파비큐라 군조 심지코로 요 말에서 자주 심코로 요 말에서 순간 지용 거래. 제사다 군조 심지코로 매반자다 주버 심지 차요 말와. 요 말씀지코로 매로 되네.
This view that I've just expressed isn't universally agreed to. There are others who will say that same bodhisattva, who's Arya Bodhisattva is directly realizing emptiness, so she's in meditative equipoise directly realizing emptiness. Because it's only emptiness that's appearing, she doesn't even have bodhicitta, neither kind. So there's others who hold that view.
디 donda 하레스네 디니 가와 말에 다 어떤 베트코론 가다로 통구도와 지기 전시심바 동발라 냠바샤데비 파비 간사에 뒤라 전시심 요 말에 세단 당한죄는 요래라 거와 다요 말에 라관디 순간디에 담이 공부 가르치어서네 동발라 냠바샤데기 전시심 파비 디규라 전시심 온도 규요 말에서 온도 규요 말 발라냐되어레스 발라냐되어레스 마도 온도 규요 말에서 제가 온도 규요 말에서 발라냐도 마도 온도 규요 말 제가 온도 마주한자 요 말에래 거래 제가 당 요 말에라 디레 온도 규요 발라냐 요래서 난주에 가서는 예바장 발라냐는 예바 인자도 예바레스 마도 온도 규요 말에서 다 지발 온도 규 매바 지발에 발라냐 예바서 예바 켈레바 지발니가 켈레 지고 지야래 이내다 용주 요래 라야디 김생 가서는 그 발라냐베 수 예바인자 예바레스 인지미주 예나 온주를 요고 말해서 난 봐줘야 현대 송나디기 예나 전시샘세 예는 온도 규는 요고 말도 발라냐베서 예바나 예비고 최고 말해서 그러다 도나디네.
The point to take away from this is on many occasions such as this there are two views which are presented and debated, and one is a particular way of expressing that bodhisattva, meditative equipoise on emptiness, does not have engaging bodhicitta, but only aspiring bodhicitta at this time. Whereas another way of expressing or describing that same situation is to say, actually, they don't have bodhicitta at all. So there's a different, a stark debate over how to describe what is happening. But it comes down to the same thing. And they would both actually agree that they are describing the same thing. They are just debating how it should be described. Both parties agree that is a bodhisattva, and that is an Arya Bodhisattva we are discussing, and in their continuum right now, bodhicitta is not manifest. Why? Because they're directly realizing emptiness. But they do still have bodhicitta. They're no longer, it's not that they're no longer a bodhisattva, they do still have bodhicitta, it's just dormant rather than manifest. So the debate is over different ways to describe that same event. There's not a disagreement about the event or that particular, the quality of consciousness.
dine choge to ne az mamba semge da dine juba semge da juba semge domba sondaji ndus chenere se choga de ngoso lama ta choga nang lama ngoso ne lama ji zane ya shudi kabla lama koran ne me mo semge da juba semge dine ke gewa ji gores and then ma ngoso da lama ngoso me ba ne ra ji domba san yo chemde de ya ji ge guli guidun li ya 공 라마 덴바산 공의 수요 선비게 매바 제제네 데네 직디 소소라게 야 안된비게 마 송구예베 저부치다 소소라게 지 디제레 등유에 도도신 도시네 안된체네 아니 주야 요래세다 데네게 동바소야디 다 라마 오수 예비 촌에 수야다 데네 오수 매나야 된비 촌에 도 수야 요래세 DC 요 말이잖아. 네 디샤스트 상제마 저다네. 제자데 라마 유네 슈다 직제. 라마 메네 능은 저게 때 꾸이되는 슈다 직제. 된데 슈니 용을 해야지.
So we've looked at tonight then in these two verses the ritual ceremony by which to make the promises associated with aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. There are two ways to engage in the ceremony. One is either in the presence of one's lama, where one repeats the lines as he recites them and makes the promise to him, or before an image of Buddha Shakyamuni, where one recites these two verses as if making this promise to the Buddha.
네 라마고스며 꾸디니 쉐디 다 토마 당보 되라 가서 라마 치자는 슈 차제 제 치수다 라마 도스네 매베네 꾸디니 쉐디들이 송거다. 식도 된 거라서. 말은 디네 주스 샤게디라 하면 꾸디니 단 말은 아주 식네 아주 된뒤갑이야 단 산지게 두 등귀에 좀 매바체 소소에 제일 등귀에서 매바체로 돼도 소소라 돼로.
In order to make the commitment to an image of the Buddha, which one would imagine as the Buddha himself, one should, before that, have already made these promises in the physical presence of one's teacher. Having made the promises associated with aspiring and engaging bodhicitta to one's lama, thereafter, then one can repeat the process on one's own, but before an image of the Buddha. Then we'll conclude there for tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you.